Imagine you are a very, very, kind individual who goes out of your way to help out, people who are in trouble, right? You help out people like the person you fall in love with, like instantly, like love at first sight. You help them achieve their dream, and then you help your new best buddy who you have a connection with because you're both from like the countryside and stuff like that. You go on this mission with a hero that you idolized, all for shit to go wrong. And by that, I mean the hero you once idolized finds out that he was a test tube project, that he was now part alien, and then all of a sudden he decides to, screw all this. I'm gonna destroy the entire planet. And what does he do? He burns down the village that not only you are there and are unable to help, but your best buddy is also, from there and has to see and watch his own family and friends burn to the ground, die by this chaotic and psychotic individual. So you go up, try to stop him, and you get knocked out. Essentially, you don't know what happens next, but then you find out you are in a test tube being experimented on by a scientist who literally created that psychotic evil individual that almost took your life. So you escape. You find your buddy right there alongside you in another test tube. He was also experimented on. What do? You save him from that. Yes, he's Mako poison, but that doesn't stop you from helping him get home to Midgard, right? And along the way, you go out and stop this other individual, and it's all complicated Crisis Core stuff. But you go and try to return home to the person you fell in love with, who you love so much that you would do anything for them, that you tell people so many wonderful things about that person, to tell them the truth about what has happened, why you were gone for 4 years. But then the military comes and kills you. Imagine that. What? And you are then called disloyal by a certain fan base because they don't like you being part of a ship that they think is more canon, that they think is much better than, your love for this character. You see how insane this sounds? Like, oh my god. I cannot believe there are people out there who think Zack is like the most disloyal human being on the face of the planet. It's pretty ridiculous how certain fan bases and certain communities, specifically in the shipping community, will do anything, absolutely anything, to justify why their ship is perfectly fine and is the canon route. Why it is the canon ship. And that's perfectly fine if you want, if you like a certain ship and you want to prove that that is the canon route. But when you start to mischaracterize characters, or misinterpret them in such a really weird way to make them look and feel like the bad person in this relationship or in this, ship, that it just becomes insane. Like, I don't mind people shipping whoever they want, but the thing I hate the most is when you mischaracterize characters to make them look way worse. It is by far one of the dumbest and weakest arguments you could ever make to try to prove your ship is canon. It doesn't matter if that's how you interpret it. It doesn't matter if that's how you feel that's the proper lore. That is the lore that, the creators are telling you, when it's not. It doesn't matter. Stop mischaracterizing characters. This is specifically a video about Zack and how much some shippers believe that he is very disloyal to Aerith, and thus Aerith has the right to move on from him, and that she shouldn't look back because he's a disloyal person. He's a disloyal scumbag. And, this character should go with the other character, who they also mischaracterize and portray as a scumbag, because apparently the only reason why that other character kissed, the other female character who he technically does love is because he wants, for some reason, Eren to be jealous, or some weird reason. Shipping is by far it becomes so complicated for no reason whatsoever, because you do anything in the world to try to make your ship canon, right? When you start to mischaracterize characters, you are no longer looking at the ship based on the lore that is given to you. You're basing it off your headcanon. You're basing it off your interpretation. And you do it, by essentially shaming other characters. Or shaming characters that are part of another ship that you disagree with. The one thing you should never do as any shipper is do that. Mischaracterize characters. Zack by far is not a disloyal person. He is not. A lot of this disloyal stuff comes from this idea that he is a flirt. That he goes around flirting with every single woman that he meets. And while, yes, there are moments when he, asks a girl out, all that stuff, when Zack finally sees someone that he immensely falls in love with, he doesn't do that anymore. He doesn't. The flirting stuff that happens before he meets Aerith. After he meets Aerith and falls in love and they become, a pair, a couple, and start a relationship, he doesn't do that. He doesn't even do it with Cisne that so many people believe that he does. No. Cisne even tells you in one of the emails in Crisis Core about how not only she is, created this fan club for Zack, and she's the one who is the black suit that gives, the inside sources about what kind of person Zack is. She even states in one of those emails that Zack is not flirtatious. He's naive, but adorable. He's a naive and adorable dork. He doesn't understand flirting. He's not this, playboy that so many people are mischaracterize him as. Right? It's just, oh my god. There's even, I haven't read it completely yet. I did see a passage from this book called Maiden, which a lot of people claim is not at all canon to the actual Final Fantasy VII lore, because it's not written by Nojima. It's not actually even considered canon by Square Enix themselves. About how Zack, there's some sort of quote, some sort of line in there about Zack essentially, being kind of like flirtatious and a playboy as well, and Aerith gets pissed off about that. But at the same time, if Square Enix doesn't see it as canon or confirm it as canon, then it's not really something that you should use. I will read it eventually at some point, sometime next year, about it, but I don't understand. None of the remake projects showcases Zack being this loyal scumbag that so many people seem to believe in from that shipper side of the community. It's why I don't get it. He's done so much. He sacrificed a lot, not only to help Cloud, but to try to get back to Aerith. He constantly thinks about Aerith. He's there when, in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, he's constantly there helping Elmira out with Aerith. Elmira even finds, Zack, to be a nice individual, that she trusts. He has her ribbon around his arm, continuously thinking about her. He shows up at the church. It's like, oh my god. The reason why I'm not even a Xerath shipper, I don't even ship Zack and Aerith as much. I'm not gonna fight for it, but I don't like mischaracterizations. The one thing I always love about stories that I find very, very fun are the characters, their personalities, how do they act, how their relationship with other characters and their essential roles in the story. And nothing I have seen from Crisis Core, from OG Crisis Core, which, I guess it's the same thing, but remake, rebirth, none of that showcases or tells me that Zack is disloyal. I don't like the mischaracterization that happens, all just to try to make your ship look good. That's the one thing I feel like shippers who are on, I don't want to say on the losing side, but when they're desperate, that's what they start to do. It's the same thing with the sibling argument. When shippers are desperate, when something happens that they fear, confirms canonization for a ship, or they fear the strength of another ship that they oppose because they involve two characters that, they want to be together, then they create these mischaracterizations, these misconceptions, these misinterpretations. Now again, there is a part 3 coming out. Who knows what they will do in Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3, whatever the hell it's going to be called. Reunite, Requiem, I don't know it, at this point. But no! That's not Zack at all! He's doing everything possible to get back to Aerith, to help Cloud, to do all of this. It just doesn't make any sense to call Zack a disloyal playboy scumbag. Yes, he tried flirting with other girls. Yes, that's all true. But that happened before he met Aerith. And once he fell in love with Aerith, he never did that again. He never did. Like, oh. Even Cisne in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, that so many people claim that he was trying to flirt with Cisne after he met Aerith. In Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, she even tells Aerith that, oh no, it's not like that at all. Like, oh my God, I hate mischaracterization so much. They do it to Cloud, they do it to Tifa. Even Aerith gets sometimes mischaracterization. It's just, if you are a shipper, please, if you ship something, do not mischaracterize characters in some weird way to actually hurt them. To give this portrayal of them to a lot of people who probably don't even know anything about the fandom, who don't know anything about these characters, to portray them in such a really scummy way. Just don't do that. Just celebrate your ship. You don't have to make them like the worst people in the world. Just because you don't like the ship that they are involved in, or because a character you want ship with another character is involved in another ship that character's with. I know it sounds confusing, but you know, like my entire monologue that I told you in the very beginning, it just sounds nuts. Like, how do you call that disloyal? This is just a rant. I know I probably sound loony, crazy to everyone right now, especially for those who actually do believe in this. And just understand, like, you could believe in all of this, but understand that it's not what is being portrayed in the games, in the writing by Nojima. It's essentially discrediting Nojima for trying extremely hard to really create these well and very tremendous, you know, personalities for these characters. Because back in the OG, there's a lot of issues with the writing, right? A lot of issues with the English translation as well. So what did he decide to do for the remake project? To try to make them better and try to make the writing more best way to put it is to just fix the writing and this misconceptions people have for these characters. And he's doing that very well. And people who, you know, mischaracterize these characters for like the scummiest reasons, really it just discredits Nojima and what he's been working on. So I just hate mischaracterizing characters so much. Even characters that I hate, I will not call them something scummy or something like that. Because, you know, I know that's not what they are. Even if I do say something, it's mostly as a joke. I don't actually mean it seriously, you know. But I understand the characters. I understand them, you know, that they aren't scummy unless they're really supposed to be scumbags like Hojo. But, you know, he's supposed to be scummy. He's meant to be that. But, like, a character like Zack, he's not scummy. He's not a playboy. He's not flirtatious. He's not disloyal. He literally tried his hardest to get back to Aerith and then got freaking attacked by a goddamn military. And yes, I get it. Aerith can move on, but she doesn't. You know? She tries very hard after the gondola scene to find the real Cloud, but she never does. She wants to know what happened to Zack, right? Zack never gave her a reason to stop loving him. She just doesn't know what's going on. It's a coping mechanism that Aerith has to try to just figure out, like, why did Zack stop sending her emails, messages, or why, you know, he never received her emails and messages. You know, it's like she just wants to know the truth. That's why she goes ask Zack's parents if they know anything. Zack is not disloyal to Aerith. He just unfortunately got involved in some of the craziest shit that you could ever experience in Final Fantasy VII. And it's not his fault. He did everything he could. At the end of the day, though, Zack is just cursed. Zack is just cursed. He got killed, you know, in the OG. And then even in the remake and rebirth project, it seems like they're going to keep him dead. So it's just like, it's not his fault. It's not his fault. You are more likely to see a reunion between them where they finally resolve, you know, what happened, where they tell each other what happened. in the past 4 years. That's essentially what you're gonna most likely get in part 3. And it's going to be so good seeing that resolution, to see that they finally understand like what happened, why Zack was gone for so long, you know. And it just sucks that Zack is getting this mischaracterization. It really does suck, because Zack is such a great character. He doesn't need to be seen as like this scummy playboy, you know. Sorry, so that was my rant. Hopefully you enjoyed it. This is likely the last video I make in 2024. So thank you so much for another wonderful year, and thank you again, and I'll see you guys next time in the new year with my first Hololive reaction of 2025. So thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next time.